Families as allies, just welcoming you all here and thanking you all for being here and being a part of our fellow community partners. And thank you for being a part of us recognizing and honoring those who have went above and beyond to do the work to highlight things that impact our families and our children and our communities. And so we're going to really just sit back and relax and enjoy the program. But before we do that, I also want to say if you are not a partner with us, with Families as Allies, I ask that you all please consider becoming a partner, whether that be via talent, treasure, or time. We will really appreciate your partnership. The work that we do for the organization is very, very necessary. Not only am I a board member, but I'm also a parent that has to often lean on the support of Families as Allies. And so what we do, again, is very necessary. The work that we do impacts a lot of children and families, and with your support, we continue to do that great work. So again, thank you all so much for being here to celebrate with us, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of the celebration. Again, thank you all so much.
Thank you, George. And say thank you to all of our board and for all of your support. And I also want to start off, I'm Joy Hogge. I think I know everybody, but for anyone I haven't met, I'm the Executive Director of Families as Allies. And I want to welcome a few people, our board, and I'm not sure, is anybody else here yet? And George, Paula is walking around taking pictures, and I think some others are on their way. And then Representative Crudup, thank you for coming. And I know Representative Felsher was here. I think he had to leave. I don't see him. Do we have any other elected officials here? And then Judge Carlin Hicks is here. And she's also one of our former board members, so thank you all. And then some of the families are here for the people that some of our awards are named after. Emily Turlington is here. And her mother is the namesake for the Partnership Award. I'm not sure. I think Ellen, Ellen Reddy Johnson is probably going to walk in with a whole bunch of youth, which is what she normally does. So we'll probably see her in a little bit. Okay, all right. Oh, okay, I can see someone out there jumping up and down. So they're in the house. Okay, so we'll see her in just a minute. I want to thank our staff, Nikki, Henry, Karina, and then as George mentioned, Jackie's not here tonight because she lost her mom last night, and it was sudden and unexpected. So please continue to keep her in your thoughts and prayers. And also, I appreciate the grace and patience you've extended to us. There's a few little details you can imagine without Jackie here helping us that aren't quite as attended to as they sometimes are. So thank you, and but most of all, just keep her in your thoughts and prayers. We also want to thank the staff of Bravo. You guys do, Tanya and her team, you do an amazing job. Thank you. Now, I think most of y'all know what we do at Families as Allies, but I'm just going to remind everyone really quickly. We're that group where families helping other families get what they want for their children. It's that simple. So we all have lived experience trying to figure out how to get what our child needs. And we now use that experience to help other families. And we also take that experience and help people who work with families learn how to partner with them, and then use that experience to also affect things at the systems level. And Ellen, we were just talking about you. And thank you for being here. Okay. So that's who we are. Now, one of the most important groups, there's lots of groups we want to thank, and that we're grateful to. But one group that I definitely want to thank is our sponsors for tonight. And everybody should have gotten a program. And you can see we have a lot of hosts. So please take some time to look at all those names and thank them. And I want to recognize Our silver and bronze sponsors, SPAN Parent Advocacy Network, which is actually the network that Diana Oten has been associated with for a long time. I was the executive director for many years. The Foundation for the Mid-South, and I think George and Casio are here with them. The Mississippi Coalition for Citizens with Disabilities, I saw Pam. Patrick Pankey, who I don't think is here yet, he does our IT. And then Doctors Chastity Torrance and John Corey Jackson. And you guys, here, will you wave? Don't be shy. Okay. Not only are they consistent sponsors of this event, but they bring, and I think they've done it again this year, child psychiatry trainees to this event every year so that they can get to know this work and we can get to know them. And one thing we all want to do tonight, and I'll just be real upfront about that, please go meet them and show them how wonderful this work is, show them how wonderful this state is, because when they get done training, we want them to stay right here in Mississippi. So we are really glad y'all are here. And then I'm also a sponsor in memory of my husband, Howard Bofforg, and thank you. I know Rims and Judy came up and talked about him being here. He loved this celebration, and thank you for all of you who remember him with me. Thank you. Okay. So now we're going to tell you a little bit. I'm going to tell you a little bit about this past year, and then we're going to share some awards with some people who have helped us be able to do the things I'm going to tell you briefly about. Almost every year, we respond to about 300 or 400 families directly on the phone, at least, and many, many more at events. So that happened too. We really increase our ability to evaluate those calls. And one thing we're finding is when we check back, families are saying it's not just, oh, you were nice to me, but I was able to take what you shared with me and that it made a difference with my child. Things are going better with my child. So we're very glad for that. We did some training, and I don't know if anyone here is here yet from the Mississippi State Department of Health, but they approached us about developing training for families whose children had babies, had infants, had just been diagnosed with deafness or being hard of hearing. And I was really glad for their confidence in us. And I'll be really honest, when they first came to us with that idea and said we wanted you to teach them how to advocate, that's the first time we've done that for baby parents. And it went really well. So we're very excited about that. We also partnered with the Mississippi Harm Reduction Initiative. Jason's here with his team. Last year, about a year ago, working on legislation that helped make it easier for nonprofits to distribute Narcan, which is the drug that helps if there's an overdose. And now nonprofits can do that. And because of that, all of you can leave tonight with your own Narcan. It's on the front table, and we hope everybody will take some, because you never, ever, ever know. And you may be the person to save someone's life. The Hinds County Children's Coalition, we're working with Judge Hicks, and a lot of her folks are here tonight. Hey, Ramona. The Mississippi State Department of Health. And one thing that's been great is a special education coalition that you'll hear more about tonight with two of our award winners have really worked hard on that, bringing together all the groups that support families when things are happening at school so that we can work together in a really coherent way and make sure every family gets what they need. We're grateful to the Division of Medicaid and the work that we've been able to do with them in several different areas, but including the Medicaid Advisory Committee and the Beneficiary Advisory Group. You'll hear more about that. There's a K through 12 mental health task force that was in legislation. We were on that and are grateful for the work we were able to do, especially looking at risk assessments and how to make those work better for kids. And our work with the mental health, the different community mental health centers this past year. We had a lot of opportunities with them, and a couple of them are host sponsors. So there's just been a lot of really good things that happened there. And then that's led to some positive changes like the Narcan bill, better coordination, we believe, between mental health and the education system this whole special education coalition that developed. And one thing that was really exciting with our partners from CHAMP, and just Dr. Dustin Sarver's here from CHAMP, and that's a program at UMC where any entity, any primary care provider in the state can call them and say, I have a child in my office who has a mental health challenge. I don't know what to do. And they will provide them guidance and give them a real-time consult with either a child psychiatrist or a child psychologist. And we work with them to help them with school issues and things like that. We were, Families as Allies, were asked to present nationally on that partnership with CHAMP so that other programs like that across the country could also learn more about partnering with family-run organizations. And kudos to you, Dustin, because from the very beginning, you've really been committed to that partnership. So that was very exciting. And there's Dr. Dobbs. Hey, it's good to see you. And so we want to continue these things and make a commitment to you that over the next year, we want to continue our work, especially with the Mississippi State Department of Health and maternal child health. We are starting to partner with Child Protection Services and be able to do more in that system to support them and partner, and also to continue to work with our partners at the Division of Medicaid to make sure those committees that have been started really do happen. So those are the things we're committing to. And does anybody have any questions or anything? Are we good? Okay. All right. Now, I know you. What?
I just want to say good job.
Oh, thanks.
That was the clap, everyone.
And you've been a very good fan, Jason. Thank you. So now we're going to go on to our awards. And I think most of you know that we have named these awards after people who are no longer with us, who really, really meant a lot to our organization. So I'll tell you a little bit about each award and about the person, and then we're going to have someone who was affected by whatever happened talk about that. So our first core value is valuing every child and family. So that value says we will not judge you or blame you. Those are our words to families. And we will stand with you if you feel judged or blamed by others. And we give this award in memory of Helen Reddy Johnson. She was an exceptional woman in our organization, and she was a much beloved board member who advocated with families wherever she was for their children and to make things better for our children, for all children. So this year, we're honoring Callie Poole, who is with the Systems Change Lab at Mississippi State University's Social Science Research Institute. And I'm sure Helen would be really proud of everything that Callie has done. There is a coalition that has formed, this Early Childhood Developmental Coalition that brings together people working on early childhood throughout the state. But one thing Callie has done is made absolutely sure that families are always partners, complete and total partners in everything that happens with that coalition. And then she's taken it a step further with all of the provider organizations on there and letting them know it's not just having families at the table, it's about everybody changing their practice so that families are at the table in an ongoing way. And I really knew she was into this work when she called me one day and she was really frustrated and she said, I keep talking to people about these providers about family-driven practice, and they're not getting it. And I love everyone in here who's a provider, but I was like, yeah, you're living my life now, Callie. That is so true. But to me, that just showed how deeply she is in the work. We did have a parent, and she is remote, so she's in another part of the state. She's not able, I don't think she's able to be here. All right. Okay, Jasmine's not here. So she sent these words to Callie. When I think of the ECDC, I think of family, motherhood, and leadership. I remember being an intern with Families as Allies and was asked to join in this coalition on a particular day. Unexpectedly, after joining the Zoom call, I was asked to introduce myself. I was super nervous, but after speaking, I had never been so much at peace and acceptance. Callie welcomed me in the most warm way. I have learned so much being on this coalition as a parent and as a member. I will never forget the love that has been shared with me from this coalition. I am truly honored to be part of this and getting to know an amazing, incredible, driven, compassionate, loving woman. Thank you, Callie. You are truly deserving of this award. I pray that you continue to receive the love and blessings God has in store for you. Love, Jasmine. So, Callie.
I'm crying. I just wanted to thank you all for being here, and I'm so grateful for this. And I've learned so much from working with Families as Allies, and also another organization, Mississippi Families for Kids, whose former executive director was the first recipient of this award, who is here tonight. And so I'm just honored to be in the presence of you all, and appreciate all of y'all's support, and my coworkers and my family and all of you. Thank you.
And we're going to get your picture. It's just a big bad deal.
Thank you.
Our next core value is excellence. And this is the way we describe excellence. We hold ourselves to the highest standards in what we do, and we expect the systems that serve our children to do the same. And this award honors the memory of Rusty Turner. He was an attorney at Balch and Bingham. He was an employment attorney who exemplified Families as Allies' vision that all children can reach their potential and be successful. He donated many hours of legal work to Families as Allies to help our policies and procedures support the organization in the best way possible. He was very devoted to high standards and excellence. And I think this is the first year that an attorney is getting the award that Rusty, an attorney, was named after. And it's going to Diana Auten, and Henry Moore is going to come speak about her. But I just want to say Diana has done so much throughout the country and is a national consultant basically for every group of family-run organizations in the country, and has done an amazing job helping Mississippi to put together the Special Education Coalition.
Where's Diana? Okay, how many of y'all want to hear my encounter with Diana? Clap, applaud if you want to hear my encounter. All right, so about 7 years ago, so I have learned to be a humble senior citizen, okay? So about 7 years ago, I was not a humble senior citizen. And so Joy had just gone through a training, leading by convening and serving on groups under Diana. And she came back, she said, well, Henry, you and Karina, you're gonna go through the training in Houston. And I'm looking there and it's saying a day and a half. And I'm like, who in this world is gonna keep my attention for 1 day and a half? Who is it? So we go in the room, and it's my first encounter. I had read all this stuff, but y'all ought to read her bio. It's unreal. Okay, it's just unreal. Okay, it's off the chainsaw. Is that a word, GC? Okay, chisel. Okay. So we're in the room, and I decide, I'm like, okay, she sounds pretty good. So I'm checking my messages on my phone, and I look down, and all of a sudden, there's this lady standing above me. Hey, Henry, are you getting this? Are you getting this? And I'm like, yes, ma'am. And she held my attention for a day and a half. So, Dana, come on up. We'd like to present this award to Dana. She has worked, our special education, Mississippi Special Education Coalition, she has started that, and she did some training with us earlier today. She is top notch, and I can't say enough about her, but she can probably tell you about herself. But anyway, we're going to present this award to Diana Alton. Oh, okay, Diana, you have to say something first. See, look, I'm in charge now.
You getting this, Diana? You getting this?
Diana, you can say something now, Diana.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it. So look at me, I'm 70, but I can use my phone, right? So I'm 70, and in my lifetime, school segregation was legal. The Equal Pay Act of 1963 was not yet passed, so women could lawfully be paid less than men. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 hadn't been passed. Children with disabilities could still be denied the right to go to school with their siblings, friends, and neighbors, and adults with disabilities could be legally discriminated against in every walk of life. Institutionalization of children and adults with disabilities was common. There was no Head Start, no early intervention, no food stamps, so there was widespread hunger and food insecurity. There was no Medicaid or the Affordable Care Act. There were no statewide family networks, parent centers, or family-to-family health information centers to help families navigate systems. I was born in 1954, the year that Brown v. Board of Ed was decided. And in case you don't know that, that was the Supreme Court case that said that school segregation on the basis of race was unlawful. My mother sent me and my sister to the only integrated school in the county in North Carolina we were living, St. Egbert's Catholic School. She took me door knocking when I was 9. That was 1963, in case you can't add. A year before the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. My mom raised me to be an advocate, and I've spent my entire adult life fighting for social justice. All of that progress is now being threatened. And I'm just going to close by saying, I'm not dead yet, I'm not done yet, and I'm not going back. So thank you.
So y'all got a little taste of Diana. She's amazing. And I'm just going to tell one Diana story. When I first got this job, I thought I just want to help families. And I didn't realize everything that went with being an executive director besides I just want to go help families. You have a board, you have to pay bills, you have staff, and they need to be paid, and they need things. You have to have all these manuals and policies. So anyway, I went to my first Federation of Families meeting, and I met Diana. And I said, I don't really know what I'm doing. And she took me under her wing, and I was getting lots of emails and all kinds of stuff. It was just amazing. She has boundless energy. And I want to tell you, Diana, and I was going to say this at the Federation, but you had to leave early. One reason I'm still standing, and I'm standing here, is because of you. And I want you to know, I have no doubt, because I know what you do, and you do it all over the country. There are people standing and still standing because of what you have done, and I'm so grateful to you, and we're going to keep standing. Our next core value is partnership. And our partnership, and we have all these core values written on our walls at work so that we won't forget them. Our partnership value says, we will work in partnership with you and whoever you tell us is important to your family. And this award is named in memory of Jo Turlington, and her daughter, Emily Turlington, is with us. And Christina Bach was a dear friend of Jo's. And Jo was a licensed clinical social worker and a dearly loved friend and colleague to many, including me. And some of you all know years ago, Jo and I worked at Catholic Charities together, and she was always the one when my head was way up in the clouds or I was forgetting to notice the things around me, was always bringing me back into the real world and making things very real for me, and so caring, but a fierce, fierce, fierce advocate for families, and never, ever back down on that. This award honors her kind and selfless life and the many partnerships she formed throughout her life, especially with families. This year, we're honoring Drew Snyder, who's the former executive director of the Mississippi Division of Medicaid, with this award. Now, Drew is not here tonight. Does anybody have any? Now, I know one person definitely knows why, but does anybody have any idea why?
He's in D.C.
He's in D.C. So he has been appointed to oversee Medicaid at the national level, which is quite a credit to him and quite a thing for Mississippi. So we didn't know that when he was getting this award, and it's kind of like when Isabel Taft got some sort of national award right before we gave her award. We knew about Drew first, and we knew about her first. But I want to tell you a little bit about Drew. I first met Drew when he was working for Governor Phil Bryant, and he called me, and I think I met him through Kim Turner, she's not here tonight, but she was the wife of Rusty Turner, who our other award was named after. And I think she was tired of hearing me talk about mental health all the time. We would go to brunch, and she was like, go talk to this guy. He works for the governor. Maybe he can help you. So anyway, Drew and I started talking, and one day he called me and he said, the governor wants to talk to families. He wants to hear about this from families. And I thought it was, I'll be really honest, I thought, well, it's just going to be a photo op when we go up there. It wasn't. And I asked if there was any limit on the number of families we could bring. Drew said no. And we were up there where the governor's office is in the Capitol. And Drew and Governor Bryant were going and finding extra chairs because we brought so many families. And I think some of the families who are here tonight were in that room. And the governor just sat and listened for an hour and a half, and he said, I'm tired of going to my friends' children's funerals. They're dying of overdose, they're dying of suicide. So that's how my relationship with Drew started. And then fast forward, he was appointed to the to oversee the Division of Medicaid, Governor Bryant, and now under Governor Reeves. And so we already had this relationship. And then I went to this national meeting, and I found out about Medicaid care advisory committees. And I found out that there were supposed to be beneficiaries on them. So I looked up ours, and there weren't any. So I wrote a letter to my friend Drew and said, I see this, and here's the law, and this is what I'm reading, and I don't see any beneficiaries on here unless I'm, missing something. Now, this was, I think, in 2017, 18, I can't remember. So he had me come meet with Will Irvin, who I think was, at that time, maybe the lawyer for Medicaid, or he was our deputy director. And I walked into the room with him, and he looked at me and he said, I read your letter, and you're right. And that was such a refreshing change from some of the things that happened. Now, he said, you're right. And then he told me all, the things that were going on and the barriers and what they were doing. Now, and I've said this to Drew many times. I've said it to the people from Medicaid who are in the room. Medicaid seems to move like a glacier, but they move. And they kept working on that and kept working on that. So that's the first thing that happened. And then Dorothy Young, who I think a lot of you know, she went off to she was working with the Division of Medicaid, and she went off to some conference about how to, move things ahead. And she was so excited when she came back, and she met with me, and she said, I went to this conference, and they said that the people that you should work with are the ones who have knowledge, but who criticize everything, because they can move things ahead. And and y'all know her, those of you who know her, she was so enthusiastic, and she looked at me and she said, I came back to Medicaid and I told everyone, we really need to work with Joy now. And I thought, okay, whatever it takes. So then we started working on that and worked on a grant together. And as that work unfolded, one thing that I started to notice is EPSDT, which is basically Children's Medicaid, that Mississippi wasn't maximizing that as much as it could. And I started talking to lawyers who knew about that. And they were already looking at, maybe bringing a lawsuit. And so I was like, well, what do we need to do? And, I'm fine with that. But one thing I did is I had those lawyers, I asked Drew, could these lawyers come talk to your staff about maybe how to do some things differently so it's less likely to get sued? Now, there's a lot of defensiveness about getting sued in Mississippi, y'all probably noticed, but he was good with that. And so we had this conversation. So there was just this openness as things moved ahead that I really hadn't experienced with other state systems. I thought it was interesting, the suit in the mental health system. when the ruling came out on that, the way I found out is Drew Snyder texted me at 6:30 in the morning. I was at the gym because he knew I'd want to know, and for whatever reason, he also noticed that at 6:30 in the morning and was giving his lawyer opinion about how he thought the settlement, whatever the terms were set up, and it was way beyond me. But that was just very interesting. He has texted me at 8:30 at night, when I was probably watching The Bachelor or something at my house, to ask questions about supported employment and how that relates to mental health. I mean, I think those are sides of Drew that not everybody gets to see. And then we went through a situation with looking at wraparound and MyPac in Mississippi, and those are two children. It's a care coordination model and a program, and there were a lot of issues. And Drew, whenever my phone rings and it's him, I always assume I've done something where he thinks I've pushed too far, and I'm like, well, now I know how far I can push. But anyway, he called and he was saying, this is what we're gonna do. And what they were trying, and it was all very complicated, but what they were trying to do was really gonna be better for families. And we worked together on that. There was a lot of pushback. And we went through a lot of stuff. And one thing that happened during that time is I did a public records request for what all the providers in Mississippi were billing for those services to see if that was influencing anything. There was a little pushback when I did that. And Drew stood completely behind me on supporting that. Drew and I don't agree on everything. There's a lot of things we don't agree on. I will say, I have to hand it to him. In one of our first conversations, he said, let's just start with the things we agree on and see what we can get done there. And I think that's a very good philosophy. So we have done that. But even when we haven't agreed, like, I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tracy, well, maybe you can't, but I don't think Drew Snyder necessarily agrees with me on paid family caregiving, which is when a child has significant health needs and their parent is paid to provide basically some of their nursing care. But he's been very open to discussing that. His staff, again, he's been open to them attending the same training we do to learn about that. He's just been very open even when we don't agree. One of the nicest things that happened is this past year he called and asked if I'd be on that Medicaid advisory committee. So that's getting us closer to having beneficiaries on that committee. And I really want to say hats off to the people from Medicaid who are here, because they have worked really hard on getting that committee going, and it's held up right now, trying to make the state law match the federal law, I think. But even more importantly, trying to get a beneficiary advisory group that's mandated in law to make sure that that group is set up in a way, not with cherry-picked people who Medicaid knows are going to agree with them anyway, but to have a really good process where anyone who's interested in being in that group has the opportunity to apply to be on it. And I've been really, really impressed with what they've done and how open they've been, and hats off to you guys. And I just want to say one more thing. I have one book that I keep at my desk and I look at a lot. Does anybody have any, and it influences me, anybody want to guess what it is? Oh, that's a good guess, it's not that. It's The Emperor's New Clothes. And that's the book about the emperor that is too focused on himself and what he looks like and trying to make an impression and not paying any attention to the people he's supposed to be serving. And, he gets fooled into that he's got on these really great clothes and actually he's walking around naked, but he won't even admit it because he's so bent on keeping up the impression he's trying to make on people. I look at this book a lot because I want to make sure I'm not doing that. I also think, I'll be really honest, I think we have a lot of naked emperors sometimes in Mississippi. Sometimes I think we have some systems that might be naked empires. Sometimes. And we need to save that. We need to save when they're naked. So I reread this book today and I thought, what is this book? Like, does Drew fit in anywhere? And what I really came to conclude is that I think what I've noticed about Drew, he doesn't care what you think about what he's wearing. And he's usually, even if you disagree, he's usually working pretty hard to do what he thinks is the right thing to do, and he does know Medicaid. So I don't think we'll ever be calling Drew a naked employer. I just wanted to say that. And I'm delighted that Drew's wife, Camille, is here tonight to accept his award.
Thank you so much, Joy.
Oh, you're welcome.
And Joy,
And we just met tonight.
yeah. Joy, it's been a pleasure to meet you and Emily as well. I don't know if Emily
Oh,
is
yeah.
still in the room.
Yes.
Named after your mother. One thing about Drew is that I know he thinks a lot about you and the organization, and all of the stories and the real life lived experience and things is something that Drew carried with him when he was in DC, and then or here, and then now when he's in DC as well. So thank you for what you have done and your organization. I know Drew is confident about the leadership at Medicaid with Tracy and Shelby and others. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping Drew doesn't change his cell phone number so I can keep texting him. And because I always have so many ideas about how he can run Medicaid, so I'm thinking I'm really going to have a lot now that he's in DC. But and I cannot imagine. I told Emily this earlier. A better guardian angel for Drew to have watching him in this next phase, and she'll be right there for him, but be making absolutely sure he stays focused on what's best for the people and their families. So, our final award is our award for accountability. And our accountability value says, we will be open and honest with you about our organization and help you get information from the systems that serve your child. And this award honors the memory of our much beloved founder, Tessie Schweitzer. She was absolutely fearless. And she'd shake her finger in the face of anyone. Y'all know her. In holding systems accountable, and she was a tireless advocate at the Capitol. And we're honoring G.C. Barnett, who's a senior staff attorney at Southern Poverty Law Center, with the Tessie Schweitzer Accountability Award for his ongoing leadership on the Special Education Coalition. And he is really a servant leader. I want you to know that what happened this morning was G.C., Diana, and all the rest of us meeting, but GC got this coalition together today because he wanted to tap into Diana's expertise, not for what he could do next on that coalition, but for what the coalition can do next, and how do we move from having, one person who kind of spearheaded it, which is him, with a few other people, to really shared leadership and everybody being an equal partner. And Karina Price is going to say a few words about what this has meant for her.
I had the pleasure to work with Tessie as a family member receiving services, and also as being on the other side of the table providing services. And I remember when Diana came, and she was so fierce, and she laid the foundation for what she wanted to see happen in Mississippi. And GC, to see you take the hammer and the nails and start to work from the foundation that Diana built, it's a pleasure. And this award is well deserving. GC, come get your award.
Well, thank you. I am deeply, deeply honored, Joy, and it is such a privilege to work with people like Diana and like Joy, and to share this space with so many of our everyday heroes, people who I think are the gold standard, and elevate all of our experience. I am truly grateful to the Mississippi Special Education Coalition, MSEC. I see us as equal partners, and I have relished the opportunity to build something that will outlast my time here, Joy's time here, and the rest of us. Things that will hopefully, for as long as we need them, serve as a place of respite and refuge for people with disabilities, children, and support mechanism for their families. So that's very important to me. I think it's incumbent upon us to use our time wisely while we're here. I think it's imperative that we promote and inspire other people. That it's about the group, about the collective. I love definitions and words, and I looked up accountability. I talk about it all the time, endlessly. My wife is probably tired of hearing about accountability. It's all I talk about, and it's deeply personal accountability. So there's a definition. The definition is subject to giving an account, answerable. So this is the person who can reveal the truth of what has happened, right? The observers, the record keepers, the people who are honest. But there's more to it. I've thought a lot about it over the years, many years at this point. And I want to tell you guys what it means to me, and this will be brief. There are three facets, or three elements, if you will, to accountability for me in my life, and I hope that this will resonate with some of you. The first thing is that it is deeply personal and individual. It is a tireless but individual pursuit. It has to begin inside. It's a very, very, I think, instrumental and deeply ingrained instinct, right? And I think that some people have it, and they can build on that. It's kind of like a talent almost. But it's also something that we can learn from others, like Diana, like Joy, and like so many of you in this room. So the first aspect of it, the first element, is that it is deeply personal. It begins on the individual level, and it flows from there. The second thing for me is that it is a collective thing. So once the individual forms the idea, and then they begin implementation, it requires other individuals. And so it's a collective thing. And accountability is about being honest with each other, being truthful with each other. I was thinking, Joy, as you talked about it, that this is the kind of award that you get when you overshare, when you're too honest. I get told all the time that I say too much, but I believe in it. I believe that it's important to give people choice. You can't make decisions about what you want to do together if we conceal things, if we're not forthright. And so that's a very important aspect of it for me. And the third and final tenet, if you will, of accountability is that it is borne out over time, over the arc of a person's life. The balance of your days is how we measure how accountable you've been, how successful you've been at being accountable, at being part of something greater than yourself, part of community, part of a state, part of a nation, part of the world, and sharing your experience with other people and lending a helping hand when others need it, and lifting not just yourself or your group, but all of us, the whole of it, to a higher place. And that concludes my remarks. Thank you so much, Joy. This is an investment, and I hope that it will pay dividends over time. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And we want you to enjoy and continue to fellowship. And remember, this is a fundraiser, so anything you want to share with us, we're always happy to have you share. And we do have some information out about how your donations make a difference and how we use that money. But mostly we want you to enjoy. We've got a wonderful group of people here. And we end all of our meetings at Families as Allies a certain way, and that is go forth and conquer. Because we know as families standing together, there's nothing in the world we can't do. So y'all go forth and conquer and enjoy and give.